Lee Young-nam, the main character, continues to live with his parents due to his inability to find a job. During his school years, he was a role model, smart and an active participant in the climbing club. However, now his interests are limited to working out on the pull-up bars, which has led the local residents to consider him an oddball. Despite this, he hasn't forgotten his past and carefully keeps all his climbing gear at home, much to the dismay of his sister, who regularly scolds him for it. Lee Young's mother's birthday is approaching, and they decide to celebrate it at the Cloud Garden, which is located near their home. However, Lee Young chose this place not because it is particularly beautiful or unique, but because his high school crush, Yuju, works there. When they meet, they decide to step aside to talk in private, which surprises Yuju, as she thought Lee Young had been avoiding her ever since she turned down his invitation to a date. However, Lee Yeon quickly dispelled her assumptions, clarifying that his presence at the place was a coincidence and he didn't even know she worked there. He also added that he now holds a managerial position at one of the influential companies, highlighting the changes in his life and career. The evening continues, and as it gets late, the establishment's manager decides to let the staff go home, leaving only him and Yuju. However, as soon as the others leave, he starts showing her excessive attention, which clearly makes her uncomfortable. Yuju tactfully indicates that she is not interested in further interaction and would prefer to maintain only a professional relationship. Meanwhile, outside, a car is improperly parked, and the driver breaks the key in the lock. As he exits the vehicle, he accidentally opens several valves, causing strange smoke to escape from the car. This smoke has an immediate effect on everyone who finds themselves in its cloud. Within just a few minutes, the gas begins to fill most of the street, and the commotion from the incident reaches the place where the celebration is taking place. Suddenly, a gas canister crashes into the wall, and all the guests begin to hastily leave the building. They notice a column of gas moving in their direction. Yuju urges everyone to go back inside the building, but Lee tries to find his sister, who is still in her car. As she attempts to get out, she accidentally trips and takes several breaths of the gas-laden air. Lee Yeon immediately rushes to her and leads her back into the building, where her condition rapidly deteriorates. While Young-nam watches the entire city become engulfed in this fog, his father doesn't yet grasp the seriousness of the situation and insists that they need to leave. Suddenly, an emergency message from the government is broadcasted to everyone, urging every resident to climb as high as possible and await assistance from the military. In a panic, everyone rushes to the roof of the building, but they find the doors locked, and the manager doesn't have the necessary keys. Because of this, many head to the lower floors in search of the keys. Meanwhile, on television, it is being broadcast that anyone forced to enter the gas cloud must use a gas mask, which is effective for only about 15 minutes. It is also emphasized that all parts of the body must be covered to prevent the gas from coming into contact with exposed skin. The news adds that there are so few helicopters available that rescue is only possible for those who can be spotted first. The only way to be saved is to become as noticeable as possible. But there's one problem. One of the managers took all the gas masks that were in the boxes. However, as soon as he heard that people were planning to look for the keys downstairs, he immediately changed his behavior. The manager turned around, brought some of the gas masks back, and decided not to descend into the gas. At this time, Young realizes that the door can only be opened from the outside, and the only way out is to break a window. After that, he asks for a rope to be brought to him. He wraps it around his waist, takes a running start, and jumps to the opposite roof. Upon landing, he immediately starts looking for possible places to secure himself. Soon, he realizes that he can't move any further because the rope has run out and won't allow him to proceed. As a result, he decides to remove the safety harness and climb further on his own. At this moment, he recalls his school days when he had to overcome obstacles. With a burst of effort, he grabs onto a statue. Just then, one of the statue's tusks breaks off, but he manages to hold on and climbs onto the roof. Afterward, he succeeds in opening the door, allowing everyone to get onto the roof. By this time, a helicopter begins to fly over them, but unfortunately, the pilot doesn't notice their presence. Then they get the idea to turn on their flashlights and signal SOS to attract the helicopter's attention. They start energetically waving their flashlights, creating bright light signals. Meanwhile, the news reports that the incident is connected to a person from the local laboratory. It turns out that this person decided to take revenge for their dismissal, and their actions have led to the current critical situation. The helicopter still doesn't notice them despite all their efforts. Then they come up with a new idea to start shouting into a microphone while simultaneously turning the establishment signs on and off to create an additional visual signal. Thanks to these synchronized actions, the helicopter finally notices them. However, a new problem arises. The helicopter can't take everyone on board due to weight restrictions. As a result, Young decides to stay with Yuju to avoid overloading the helicopter. Soon, a new helicopter arrives, but for some unknown reason, the pilot decides not to pick them up. In desperation, Young and Yuju begin to develop a new plan. While Young was gathering the necessary items, he noticed that the gas was starting to rise. They quickly put on gas masks, carefully tape up their entire bodies, and run outside. Making their way through the city, they manage to reach a new roof, but soon realize that the gas has already reached this place as well. Seeing that the situation is becoming critical, Young decides to use the last filter. He quickly puts it on and descends. Meanwhile, Yuju climbs to the top of the building, trying to avoid danger. After a few moments, he also climbs up to the roof after her and, overcoming his fatigue and fear, hands her a new filter. They struggle to reach the gym, where they can finally be without masks. This place gives them a chance to rest and think about their next steps. They need to get to the neighboring roof. After discussing various options, they manage to throw dumbbells onto the opposite roof. Gradually, by tightening the rope, they create an improvised bridge. When the rope becomes tight enough, Yuju carefully makes her way across. Everything goes according to plan until it's Leon's turn. When the situation suddenly changes, gas starts spilling onto the roof where Yuju is, creating a serious threat. Seeing this, Leon decides not to take any risks and quickly returns to retrieve the gas masks. Authorities realize that ordinary water can neutralize the gas, although the exact time needed for this remains uncertain. Leon came up with a clever plan to set up mannequins so that rescuers would think there were many people in the building, hoping to attract their attention. Suddenly, they notice that a whole crowd of people is unable to leave the room. These people were trapped and didn't know how to get out. Li Young and Yuju tried to explain to them that there is a fire escape nearby and that they just need to climb up to be saved. One of them decides to follow their advice and starts climbing up the ladder, but he loses his balance and almost falls down, causing a wave of panic among the others. Soon, a helicopter spots them, but they realize that the first priority is to save the people who are trapped. They quickly set up an arrow to point rescuers in the right direction. Suddenly, an explosion occurs, causing a powerful wave of gas to head in their direction. In a panic, they conclude that the nearest building is the safest place. Without wasting any time, they start moving to the adjacent building. At that moment, a drone belonging to a television company, paid for by Yon's father, unexpectedly flies towards them. Thanks to the drone, their rescue operation begins to be broadcast live over the internet. Thousands of people around the world witness this dramatic scene, and many viewers start actively following the developments, hoping for a successful rescue. They manage to reach the necessary building and climb up the vertical advertising billboards to the top. However, the problem is that the next building is too far away to simply jump to it. At this point, the drone broadcasting their rescue goes out of order, and the live feed is interrupted. Our heroes start hugging, finding comfort and support in each other. Suddenly, new drones begin to appear from all directions, which people are using to drive away the gas, creating a safe space around our heroes. Young quickly thinks on his feet and passes a plan to one of the drones. According to this plan, the drone is supposed to carry a rope to the neighboring building. Soon, the drone, following Yon's instructions, successfully completes the task, and the rope is securely anchored on the other side. They begin to cautiously make their way to the other roof, using the taut rope, but suddenly, they stop right in the middle of the path. The reason is the excess weight, which creates a dangerous strain on the rope. However, this is not the only problem. The rope begins to slip. They come up with the idea to cut the rope and drop to the floor below. But suddenly, the drone that was helping them breaks down. They start falling straight down. This becomes the last frame captured in the broadcast. Despite this, the helicopter still heads to their last known location. Suddenly, the rescuers notice a strange light on the crane. It turns out to be sparklers lit by our heroes to attract attention. Thanks to these lights, the rescuers manage to spot them and rush to help. In the camp, everyone is happy about the rescue. The manager, feeling relieved, decides to approach Aiju to show how worried he was about her. However, instead of gratitude, he receives a slap from her. Then Li Young approaches Yuju, holding a carabiner they used during the rescue operation. He wants to give it to her, but she tells him to bring it to their next meeting. Suddenly, it starts to rain, washing away all the remaining gas. This natural phenomenon becomes a symbol of cleansing and the end of all their hard